All right, so back to this. Just another miscellaneous black screen video, right? Again, related to anime, as you can tell by the title. Something along the lines of, make interesting characters, right? Or with that being the general idea or message, right? Don't know if that's exactly what I'm gonna title it, cause funny thing, right, is the inspiration for this wasn't actually anime. I guess sort of the idea or concept that I got for this video was from the new controversial Disney series. I guess not even in existence yet, just one that recently came out or was piloted, right, as Primos, right? Again, and all the drama involving that, right? From the can't I think they released the trailer like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, I watched the trailer and that was the inspiration, I guess, for this video, right? So again, with funny enough, so obviously I'm not Latino, right, or Hispanic, So, and I feel like people have beaten to death the issues regarding cultural stereotyping on that. So funny thing is I am Irish, right, though. So, and someone said because I think, what was it? It was like Terremoto, like hills or like whatever. And that means like earthquake. And I saw a comment on the video saying that'd be like, if it took place in Ireland and was called freaking potato famine car bomb central or something, right? And I found that hilarious as fuck. That was like the funniest thing to me. But again, like besides all that, I feel like all that's been beaten to death. But honestly, I feel like another thing in problem in again, which is why I see inspiration for this video, is the main character is just boring as fuck. Like I don't like they're like a literal like NPC. Like I don't know what else to say other than their character is not having a character, and it's literally just like a person with no like substance. Like because well, I guess that's also partially the issue with the stereotypes, right? Is you're just the living embodiment of your country's stereotypes. But even ignoring and pushing past all that, like the character is just like there's just like nothing there. Like there's no substance. And again, that's something that I wanted to talk about in this video. And again, because that's kind of the inspiration, I'm not going to talk so much about that because I'm going to talk more in relation to animes. That's more what I cover, and that's the playlist this is going in. With again, the thing there, right? And as for like the anime and what that comes down to is, again, it's a big problem in anime too, right? And particularly slice of life. And it's something to where I've talked about a lot already, but I'm going to go kind of over kind of solutions or remedies to that, right? So again, so as I'm I'd say very critical of slice of life. I think there are lots of issues. Funny enough, it's the one I still watch. Maybe I'm just like mentally deranged or something, but it's the one I still watch a lot of. But I'm very critical, and I feel like one of the biggest critiques that I have, besides just complete unrealistic like expectations for like social interaction, like relationships, right? That's the other big one. But the main big one that kind of I harp on even more is again, just the protagonists, specifically male ones, right? Because okay, you can have a boring female protagonist, but at least they're female, right? So that is like already like different, right? Role reversal, right? That's kind of my thing with Tomo-chan, right? Okay, she's like a tomboy, right? But that's literally her whole personality. But also, again, it's kind of cool because of the role reversal, right? But again, I think personally it's overrated, but I still think it's good. But people act as if it's like the best show of the fucking year. And it's like, I mean, it's cool that there's role reversal, but other than that, it's still just the embodiment of that tomboy stereotype, right? For that prototype. But again, also, but the other big thing too is that they actually wrap up their show in one season. Crazy and wild concept, right? But beyond that, again, more so the issue is just when it comes to like the male protagonist specifically is that there's just again, they're not interesting. Like again, compare like the Primos main character to like any male like freaking slice of life protagonist, and there's literally just there's no substance. Like their character and personality is a lack of that, right? They're like NPCs. Like I hate to say it and use that term, but that's literally what like it feels like. It feels like there's just because again, I understand they're trying to make them like relatable, right? It's literally just a stand-in fill-in, right? But the problem being, okay, you go in that direction, and first you're implying that interesting characters can't be stand-in fill-in characters, right? They just need to be, all like boring or bland, or just have zero substance, right? But I think it's more so that, again, that's they're worried about that. But you can have stand and film characters with interesting substance, right? And again, that's because I feel like I've already touched and harped on this enough, but I want to go over kind of like ways you can do that, right? So I guess also I should know I'm not a writer, right? I'm not a writer at all, but I see this issue so goddamn much. It's like, because like again, it's the same thing with Dangers in My Heart, right? Like Ishikawa, he was genuinely like an interesting character, but again, the whole show just devolved into generic slice of life. I have like at least 2 or 3 videos on that, but again, and yeah, Primos, it's honestly, dude, like, okay, so like, I know all the stereotyping, right? But I'm also not Latino or Hispanic, so I don't really care, right? It'd be funny. I do think the whole, what is it, Potato Famine, Car Bomb Island comparison's hilarious, but again, the main character is just so boring. It's like, and it's like, it just reminded me of all these, like, okay, let's put it this way. A show that I used to be a fan of that I kind of lost, I guess, or like that dipped in like appreciation for me, I guess, right? Was, what would you call it? Nagatoro, right? I honestly, I enjoyed season 1, but I feel like that was because it was something to where it was like, it was slice of life, but there was actual like progression and development of the relationship between Paizen and frickin' Nagatoro, just because she started out harassing him and then eventually, kind of like, it's like literally like that, like borderline abusive, or like I hate to put it, like, that's kind of, what it comes down to, right? So versus like, other shows where, it's not the case. And even like, let's put it this way. So like, even when it comes to like self-aware like aspects for that. So like, again, Komi can't communicate, right? Tadano literally, like, that's his whole shtick, like, is that he attends a school of the embodiment of stereotypes, and he's literally just a normal person. That's his stereotype. Okay, it doesn't really make him interesting, right? Granted, we've never moved past season 2 of that. I know the manga's still going on, but his character just, like, at least, in his defense, there's a self-aware aspect, but even if it's self-aware, it doesn't make it interesting. Like DDLC, right? That's a big thing there. Like, it's self-aware, but again, it pulls the rug out from under you, right? Like, it's something to where, like, it pulls the rug out from under you, where you think, oh, this is literally just going to be your fucking generic, like, dating sim, right? As it's literally just everyone's an embodiment of a stereotype, and then it just pulls the rug out from under you. But even then, like, most of the mods for that, and where, like, a lot of the appreciation, like, that I have for him comes with how they develop the MC, given that he's so boring in the original, right? But again, how they develop him, because he's kind of like a blank slate, right? But the issue being, these shows usually don't do that. And again, something to where I just went and made all these comparisons, right? But you kind of get my point. And the big thing in this video, I wanted to go over ways you can do that. So there's that, right? So let's actually get into it. So how you can like improve that, right, is, again, because I'm not just going to say, oh, make them interesting, right? Because that's, very vague and not helpful, right? That's like, do better, like, type of advice. It's not even necessarily about make them interesting. Just, I'd say, like, you need to kind of tailor their actions, right? I feel like a lot of it, you can make them have, like, I guess, a relatable, quote-unquote, or stand-in, fill-in type personality for the viewer and or watcher, right? But when you take a look at their actions, right, actions speak louder than words. It's something to where a problem with a lot of these and what makes them bland, and again, just what makes them bland, and have no character and personality, right, and substance is their action is inaction, right? They just don't do anything. Like, even if, like, the actions are, like, wrong, or if, that makes it even better, right? If they're, like, just, okay, go home after school club, right? Or just literally the most, assuming it's a high school show, right? Or just, again, even if they are, like, pretty, like, I guess, quote-unquote, relatable or stand-and-fill-in type character, right? It's something to where, like, actually make them do, like, stuff. Like, give them a hobby, give it, that's actually takes up, doesn't, just serve plot or story purpose. That takes up a decent amount of their time and gives them actual character personality. Like, give them a hobby or something. Give them friends that they actually, like, kind of bring out sort of a different side of that character. And then you can use that for story and plot purposes later when it comes to, like, different types of, like, interactions, right? Actually, have them, like assuming it's a typical slice of life where it's, oh, male protagonist has, falls in love, has relationship with female one, right? Like, actually make their actions like have meaning, and like have their relationship like fluctuate, right? Friendship, right? Like, development that way, right? Don't make it all of like, that, again, big thing. Like, I really like season 1 of Nagatoro, but I really didn't like season 2. Part of, again, I like season 1 because, like, again, they start off with basically her just harassing him, right? The harassment. Oh my god, I hate Riz is like actually harassment type relationship there, right? But like, they actually, like, she actually grows to like him, and he actually grows like a spine and a backbone compared to. But then season 2 just literally goes nowhere, and it's like, okay, whatever, right? Like, I feel like that's a perfect example. I enjoyed season 1, and part of that was because, Paizen, he actually, like, again, he had somewhat of a spine and backbone, and he actually acted, like, and did stuff, crazy, wild concept, right? But he was still very much your stereotypical, like, bland, generic, like, quote-unquote relatable fill-in stand-in MC, but he was at least semi-interesting there. And then again, season 2 kind of lost me. Other shows, I guess Tomo-chan, right? You can look at the male protagonist, right? Jesus Christ, June, right? He actually had, like, personality. He was, pretty, like, and again, obviously to match kind of Tomo's stereotypical tomboyishness, right? He himself is a pretty, like, outstanding, like, athletic dude, very much different from the stereotype of, male, like, protagonist for these, like, slice of life shows. But also, he had a decent motivation in catching up to Tomo, right? And then ultimately, he kind of realized his feeling. Granted, I do think it was literally the opposite issue of most shows, that it was way too quick to happen in a season, or at least it should have been more consistent. It didn't really seem like anything happened until the end, but, whatever, right? Again, still great show, though. But, like, that's kind of another example, right? Again, like, other characters, like I for Takagi-san, like, freaking Nishikata, right? Like, I think the thing for him is, again, he actually doesn't seem like a loser neat, like, and he's, like, again, trying to get back at, what would you call it? God, what was it? Takagi, right? As opposed to just letting himself get harassed. And he's pretty, like, serious. Like, dude goes on a training regiment, like, stuff like that, right? Actually, like, don't, like, I feel like season 2 Paizen is really an example of what you just blatantly want to avoid, where there's just zero, like, interesting, like, and redeeming, and they're literally just, it's like they're a shell, or like just a hollowed out version, where it's like their character exists solely for, oh, this is your stand-in fill-in person, right? Again, and there are other shows and more recent ones I've watched, right? Like, what were the 2 that I just finished? My Clueless First Friend, that one was a great fucking show. Like, and then also, again, Dangerous in My Heart wasn't as big as a fan of, right? But yeah, for what's the term? Okay, Kakegurui, not even relevant. I just still remember seeing the manga for that. But again, I feel like, Clueless First Friend is another great example. Like, freaking, what would you call it? Jesus Christ, I don't even remember that. Nishimura is the girl, right? What's the dude's name? Clueless First Friend. Yeah, what's the dude's name? Oh, because it's the same one as the girl from Death Note, right? It's the same one as the girl from Takada, right? Again, something where, like, he's actually interesting because, like, okay, he's just, like, blatantly, like, okay, his thing is he's just, like, very, like, upfront, but it's also, like, again, his it's like the I have no enemies, like, meme, right? Like, that's his, like, he like single-handedly turns the entire class into supporting this, like, alienated chick. Like, that's like, again, obviously, not as much of a stand-in, because also once you get to, like, the middle school and grade school level shows, it's like, okay, you're not gonna make stand film characters because, that's, like, potential, that's very sus, very questionable. But again, like, what it comes down to is give them a hobby, actually make them have friends, and, have that change, how they interact, right? Actually make them, act, right? Even if it leads to, temporary setback, that's better, right? So that they can learn to overcome it. Give them these things, give them these challenges, give them these, I guess, tests, or sort of, again, give them these things so that it's something to where, like, it's not just, okay, there's zero substance. Like, I guess Tadano, at least he's nice, but I mean, it's like, other than that, I mean, that's kind of his whole shtick. He's at just an average. But again, that's the big thing. Just give him something. Because again, look, bringing it back to, let's end it back to Primos. I don't even remember the main chick's name, but what can you derive about her personality and character from that like 1 minute, intro? Literally nothing, because her whole character is that there is none, right? And it's just your stereotypical like Mexican or Hispanic household, right? But like, again, ignoring all the stereotypes, like just her, again, the problem with her specifically, there's just nothing there, right? And you see that so much with these like just male slice of life anime protagonists, right? But even protagonists in general, like, okay, like people like to shit on like MHA, right? But that's kind of like an instance there where I don't know a lot about that show, but I know a lot of criticism revolves around the main protagonist being just uninteresting. Like even like let's say, okay, like let's bring it back to shows I actually watch, Naruto or JoJo's, right? Those are kind of the two like more like shonen, I guess, or whatever you'd call it, the more like actual story related shows that I'm involved in, rather than these shitty one-off season shows, right? Like Naruto, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I don't find Naruto that interesting of a protagonist, but it is some like I don't find him that interesting a protagonist, but he does have his moments. And in JoJo's, let's put it that way. So like, okay, let's rank him, right? Jonathan's kind of like, you're like Luke Skywalker of the show. I hate to say it, right? That's actually a really good comparison. He's like the Luke Skywalker of the show, right? Just like the moral good archetype, which, it's good, right? And I feel like they pulled it off and executed it well, especially for being the first part of the show. Part 2, Joseph, right? Okay, that's kind of more of a goober, right? And I'm not as much of a fan of that type of character, but it does work out and does make for like interesting things. I wasn't as big a fan of Part 3 Jotaro, because I feel like you just take what's good about Jonathan and like remove it. It's like he's almost just like your stereotypical overpowered like anime protagonist, right? But he also does have his moments. Part 4, Josuke, I liked his character more, like probably one of my more favorite ones, just because like, again, okay, ignoring the whole hair shtick, that's like just a weird, like, that's like not even a hobby. That's just like a like sort of like, what would you call it? That's just what's the term? I don't know. That's just sort of a niche or something. But again, I actually liked his character more, and especially with how he interacted with Jotaro. But I do like Jotaro's evolution. That is one thing I do like, right? Part 5, Giorno. Okay, I like Giorno. Probably, again, similar to like Josuke, right? Like I liked his character more, especially, since it wasn't like the typical like JoJo, right? It's actually like Dio, right? But again, also Part 5 is my favorite part. Diavolo is my favorite like villain, King Crim's your favorite Saiyan. So like I just liked a lot about Part 5. Okay, Part 6, okay, I really liked Jolene. Jolene, I guess, okay, like she was kind of controversial, but I feel like, like people would be like, oh, it's because she's a woman. I think it was more so just because of how how she was with like Jotaro and kind of what went down between them. Because like it's something where it's like people point out like, oh, Jolene kind of had a shitty life, like, it sucked growing up without father, and then people are like, oh, but Jotaro did this, went through this, right? And it's like, dude, chill, it's not that deep. But I like Jolene too, and again, I like Jotaro most here, right? Like again, seeing his character evolution is crazy, but like with JoJo's, it's something where like they do a fairly good job making interesting protagonists, but also they constantly change them. But again, it's something to where it's like, again, just give them something, right? Like literally this. If you take nothing else away from this video, this is it. Give them a hobby. Give them friends that, give their friends actual characters too, and have them, their friends change how they kind of interact and how their personality is, right? And actually affect them that way. Make them, take action, right? Actually like do stuff when it comes to, their love interests, right? Assuming it's just your stereotypical show, right? Even if they fail, there's some conflict there. Good. Good. It's like the Jocko Wilkins meme. Good. Like they can overcome it. And then again, just if nothing else, I'm not asking that you make them like a fucking like Light Yagami or something where they're like, this like freaking like just unattainable, perfect, whatever. Right. But like at least give them something. And then you can still have them be relatable when it comes to like certain, like, again, the rest of their personality. Right. And or, how they have it, like, deal with our interactions. But again, I'm done talking about this. I've said what I want to. So with that, I don't really have anything else to say. So, yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.